Hi folks, today we're going to start solving equations with rational exponents, and I guess the best way to consider this, or the best way to think about doing this, is just to work backwards through your order of operations. So I want to get x alone, that's the ultimate goal. Working backwards through the order of operations is going to help solve that. So if I'm working backwards through this order of operations, I just want to go this direction. All right, where I am adding or subtracting away from the variable first, multiplying or dividing away from it second, and then getting going on that exponent, and then work inside the parentheses last. So this first one, where I have x to the third equals negative 64, I just want to take the cube root. I want to get that x alone because there's no adding or subtracting away from the x. There's no multiply or divide away from it. So I'm just going to work on that exponent. So the opposite of cubing would be to cube root. So when I go and cube root both sides, that left side just leaves the x. So x equals, now you may need to go ahead and get into your calculator and do the cube root of negative 64, but the answer to that is just negative 4. Done. Okay, now moving on to this next one, we have 1/2 x to the fifth equals 5/12. So first of all, there's no adding or subtracting away from that x, but now I can multiply or divide this 1/2 away over to the other side. So if I were to divide that half away, it's the same exact thing as multiplying by 2. So now I would have x to the fifth equals 1024. Now I want to get that exponent away. It's fifth power, so the opposite or the inverse of fifth power would be fifth root. So I want to take the fifth root of both sides. So now fifth root, fifth power, they are going to get rid of each other right here. So I would have x equals, now into the calculator once again, the fifth root of 1024, that's going to wind up being 4. And there's our answer. Now notice that since both of these are odd roots, I didn't do plus or minus. We only need to worry about plus or minus when we're doing even roots. When it's odd, we just take the sign that we're given. When it's even, though, we do need to be aware of doing plus or minus. So this first one on this page, we have 3x squared equals 108. This is something that should be fairly familiar to us. Again, we're working backwards through the order of operations. There's no add or subtract away, so we can go ahead and move to multiply or divide away from the x. So we divide both sides by 3, so we have x squared equals 36. And now we can go ahead and square root both sides. So x equals, and we can't forget, since it is an even root, we got to do plus or minus. So x equals plus or minus 6. Done. Now this next one is a little bit different. We want to get that x alone, but again, remember, we're working through that order of operations backwards. So we're going to start out way down here with add, subtract away, but there's nothing to add or subtract away from the x because everything is inside of the parentheses. So there's no add or subtract, there's no multiply or divide. Now we got to work on that exponent. We have to pop the exponent off of there before we can work inside our parentheses. So our first order of business here is to take the fourth root of both sides. So now on the left side, the fourth root, fourth power, get rid of each other, so we have x minus 3. Equals. On the right side, it's an even root, so we must do plus or minus. And fourth root of 21, that's not going to come out very good, so we're just going to leave it like that. Now we can finish getting x alone. We can add that 3 over to the other side. So x equals 3 plus or minus fourth root of 21. And there it is. We'll just leave it like that. That's exact. That'll work. So now you have these final two that I'd like you to try on your own if you can. So when you go through these, if you're getting the right answers, this first one should be x equals -2. And this one on the right, you're going to get two answers on that. You should get x equals -3 and x equals -7. So go ahead and try those on your own. Just remember to work backwards through your order of operations. You should be fine. Okay, go ahead and practice this on page 418. Numbers 50 to 58 all, 60 to 65 all, 75 to 82 all. Best of luck to you. We'll see you in class.